This year, the cost of a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl will run between, get this, $5.1 and $5.3 million, which is up slightly from last year.
Miro Copic is with San Diego State University's marketing department. Good morning, Miro.
Good morning, LaDona.
That is a lot of money, but it could potentially pay off for them, right?
It does. I mean, companies, again, the Super Bowl is 100 million people view it. It is the largest mass event in the U.S. for the whole year. It's eclipsing the people who watch the Academy Awards and any other sporting events. So every penny is worth it. But there isn't just the cost of the spot. There's the cost of producing the spot, which when you look at special effects, top talent, music rights, is well over $1 million. The marketers spend a lot on social media to build momentum so people can watch the ad. But the most important thing is that when people watch Super Bowl, they actually watch the ads. They like watching the ads, so it's kind of like a little mini movie premiere.
They like watching the ads, but let's go. All right, let's say you're a Coca-Cola drinker and there's a Pepsi ad. They're not expecting you all of a sudden to switch to Pepsi, right? So that my thing is, are they really, really hoping that you will go out and buy the product, or is it all about branding?
It's both. It's both. There's going to be brands that are coming out brand new. Kraft is launching a new frozen food line called Devour, and they're going to want you to try it. So our marketing is all about trial. But Pepsi, that's a great one. Pepsi has blanketed the city of Atlanta, which is Coke headquarters, by the way, in blue, in billboards. It is hysterical. And Pepsi is kind of taking a different tack. They're taking the theme, is Pepsi okay? You go into a restaurant, people say, well, I want a Coke. Is Pepsi okay? And it's going to be supported by celebrities like Steve Carell, Little John, and Cardi B. So Pepsi always stays relevant and just chips away Coke's lead.
So now we just recently saw Gillette kind of step into the toxic masculinity cauldron recently. Did that ad hurt the company or help it? And are we going to see a lot more sort of social statements rather than, stuff?
Well, it's interesting. There were a lot of social statements in 2017, some last year. Marketers are pulling back on the social statements, although you'll see brands like Verizon that are going to be focusing on first responders. Even Anheuser-Busch, which is going to be back with the Clydesdales, has a little bit of a social statement at the very end of their spot. The Gillette spot, was controversial. I think it's interesting from that perspective, but at some point, marketers don't want to offend a large part of their audience, or at least get them to think negatively. Like Nationwide a couple of years ago when they had that ad for the insurance products that featured the death of a child. That kind of turned viewers cold and got a lot of negative feedback.
Wasn't there a couple of weeks ago controversy over an ad that the Super Bowl turned down?
The Super Bowl turns down a number of ads every year in fact, last year, in 2017, the Super Bowl turned down a couple of ads that were focusing on political issues like the border wall and whatnot. It's the right of the broadcaster to for standards or making a political statement. But every year there's always an ad or two that is turned down for one reason or another.
Can you think of Super Bowl ads that have just absolutely fallen dead flat, that might have even harmed a company?
There's always ads that, what ends up happening is that consumers, most of the companies are huge marketers, and they're on air all year. They're in a lot of different channels. So if an ad doesn't do well, like, for example, the last couple of years, the Skittles ads have been kind of boring and haven't really driven. This year, the Skittles is doing something completely different with actor Michael C. Hall doing a Broadway event the day of the Super Bowl where people actually are going to pay to see him perform, and then it's going to air in social media and other places. And they're doing an anti-Super Bowl thing. But a lot of times ads, when companies are betting the farm on those ads, when it's a small company, a lot of the .com companies, insurance companies that have done ads in the last couple of years have kind of not delivered. And when you're spending $5 million, you'd like to see a return on your investment.
All right, that is San Diego State Marketing Department Professor Miro Copic joining us. Thanks again, Miro.